Plan for everything, but you can be ready for anything. That's where we come in. Northwest Insurance Agency covers the wait, what? Moments in life with real coverage, real people, and real fast help. We offer sombrero-style coverage that protects your possessions, your loved ones, and everything else that fits under a sombrero. Call us today for a quote at 855-887-5656 or visit us at nwagencies.com.
This is the On the Pony Express podcast, part of the On3 network. Check out all the SMU coverage you need at ontheponyexpress.com. Now, here's your host, Billy Embody.
1, 2, 3, let me go.
Welcome to the After Stangs Show. This is your new host for a little bit, Jonathan McGill. I'm here ready to really just break down what happened in this previous game. SMU loses a hard-fought game, 48-45 to Baylor. Baylor Bears come in and sneak a W away from the Mustangs. And so looking at the game, breaking down instant reactions, hard loss. There's no easy way to speak about it. But what I will say and what I'm encouraged by is this is something that you need as a team early in season. Getting the opportunity to go against a good opponent. I believe Baylor should have been ranked. A lot of people believe they should be ranked, and see where you're at. And it's only week 2. There's always room for improvement, always room for growth. And so breaking down the game, Baylor had a whopping total of 600, about 600 yards of total offense. They had their quarterback, Sawyer Robinson, was 34 of 50 for 450 yards, throwing 4 touchdowns, and he got sacked 1 time. Leading rusher was Bryson Washington, who had 31 carries for 121 yards with 2 touchdowns as well. For the Mustangs, TJ Harden, the transfer from UCLA, had a huge game, 19 carries for 115 yards with 3 total touchdowns. Kevin Jennings, 17 of 23, 1 interception, 296 yards passing, and 3 touchdowns. Romello Brinson was your leading receiver, 4 catches for 126 with 2 touchdowns, the 75-yard touchdown on the first play of the game. It seems like we're used to seeing that from Romello Brinson and Kevin Jennings, and it seems like they have a good rapport as well. Punt return, Joshua Cameron did fumble a punt return, which was huge for the Mustangs to snatch momentum during that time. And your leading tackler for the Baylor Bears was Thomas, who had 10 tackles, 2 total tackles, and Isaiah Wacobia led the Mustangs with 12 total tackles and 1.5 TFL. Instant reactions and raw reactions, what I feel that SMU is going to gain the most out of during this season and during this time is to really see where you're at. Who are the leaders? What is the leadership like? How do you respond to adversity? And those are all things that Rhett Lashley and the staff are so great about. They are excellent in being able to identify issues and fix issues. Believe the defense will not look like this at all for the rest of the season. I have total confidence and belief in Coach Scott Simons and all the guys on defense, the Isaiah Wacobias, the Isaiah Smiths, Cam Roberson, Ahmad Moses. Those guys will play better, and they will definitely be leaders, and I expect them to have an excellent bounce-back week next week against Missouri State. Offensively, same with Kevin. Seems like looked like he had got banged up a little bit at the end of the game. Seems like everything will be totally fine with him. Along with Romello Brinson is fine. Jordan Hudson should be coming back soon. Alex Kilgore should be coming back soon as well. And so I'm very interested to see how this team looks next week. Very interested to see how they respond to adversity. And once again, Mustang fans, do not panic. The season is not over. Conference hasn't started yet. So I want to stress that things like this happen, ups and downs happen throughout the season. But it's better early to see where you are week 2 compared to this happening later in the game. So now I'll be handing it over. I actually want to talk about our punter, man, Wade. Wade is doing an excellent job punting the football, net coverage, and we're having really good net punts. He had 3 punts for 131 yards, 43.7 average, and 2 inside the 20. And so as a defense, that is huge. That is something that is great. When you're a defense, you'll be able to flip the field. So now I'll be handing it over to Rhett Lashley, who will be giving his post-game interview.
Okay, well, obviously really disappointed that we didn't win. Disappointed to lose. It's not ever something that we're going to get content with. Give Dave and that team credit. I think it was a really well played football game. Both teams played hard. I mean, you look at the stat lines and penalties to turnovers. I mean, it was a good football game. It came down to thought we started well in the first half, offensively and defensively. We let them get on a little bit of run for half offensively, but then our defense kind of reestablished themselves in the third quarter. We didn't have a great third quarter offensively. Really liked how we responded, went down and scored to have a really good touchdown drive to take the lead, then got the turnover and really ran some clock, ran the football. Physically, we had done a good job of taking control of the game at 38-24 with 8 minutes to go. And, you got to give them credit. They grinded. They didn't quit. Dave's a competitor. Their quarterback, their players are competitors. That's a good football team. I felt like going into the season, it was a top 25 football team. But we got to learn how to finish. I mean, we're up 38-24 with 8 or 9 minutes to go. They're only going to get probably 2 possessions. And we got to either get a stop or when we get the ball back, not give it back to them. We didn't do either one. And then we find ourselves in overtime. And, obviously in the second overtime offensively, we weren't able to put the ball in the end zone. And then on top of it, we missed the field goal. So we kind of made it easy on them, didn't make them have any game pressure there. So disappointed for our players, disappointed for our fans. For 3.5 quarters, we were the better team. And then we didn't finish. And if you want to win, you got to finish. You can't start the job and not finish the job. So this year's team's a new team. We're a really young football team. We knew that. I was really proud of how they competed. That was a good football game. And for 3.5 quarters, they did everything they needed to do. We have to learn that you got to finish the job. And this is a new team. This team can't say, well, we finished in the past. No, this is a new team. We have to learn how to finish. Against the team with 16, 17 returning starters, whatever the number is they have, they showed that resilience and we didn't finish the job. So we'll respond well. If we want to have a good football team, all our goals are still there. I think we can have a good team. I think we'll keep getting better as long as we stick together, and we'll see how we respond. This is really the first big moment of adversity for this year's team.
What was it that they were doing offensively in the past game that really stood out to you?
We did it's going to probably be, unfortunately, a recurring theme for 3 quarters plus. We really stopped the run pretty well. And that's important. As talented as they are throwing the football, you got to make them one-dimensional. Look, when they got down 2 scores, you get more aggressive. You think you got 4 downs. You call the game differently. And what we weren't able to do those last 2 drives, we weren't able to get any pressure without pressuring. Like, we would have to blitz, and they're so good one-on-one, you got to decide, do you blitz and put your guys in one-on-one? And, even their the first touchdown, the one thing they could do is score fast. And we were kind of making him take time, and then he scrambles and throws it up, and guy gets behind Zay and, makes a great play. That hurt us because they scored on a 50-yard play instead of taking another couple minutes to score, if they were going to score. Make them execute. But what we weren't able to do is get enough pressure, and their playmakers are so good, whether you're man, zone, and Sawyer's a solid, he's a veteran quarterback. He's a winner. He's tough. You give him 3-4 seconds, he's going to find somebody. And so, it's tough. I felt for our defense because they're trying to get that stop, and we just weren't able to get the pressure without potentially going to an all-out blitz. And I think that's what gave them time to make those plays. And then that last drive, playing coverage, credit them. They ran the ball and spit a few runs on us, which really made it hard.
What do you say to the players after the game to try to get their minds right, going, ignore this and move on?
Yeah, it's tough. It's raw. No different for our fans, for me, or anybody. Right after you lose, they don't have any time to process it in that locker room any more than I really had before I'm talking to you. But so you don't say too much. They're all disappointed. It was a good football game. That's a really good team. I think we have the potential to be a good team. This would have been a big deal for us to finish the job and in that momentum and that growth. We didn't do it. Told them to keep their head up. You find out everything you need to know about any team when they finally face real adversity. We got 42 of 85 new players. Our guys like each other. They work hard. They're close, but like now, how are we? You find out who your friends are when like things are hard. You find out who really is in and out when things are hard, right? If we win today, great, that's the goal, but like, okay, now what? Like, so we're going to learn. I mean, and you don't like to do it through losing and failure. Failure sort of growth happens. Growth doesn't often happen that much in success. And so I just told them the key will be, how do we respond? Hold your head up. We're a good football team. We have a chance to keep getting better. Don't point any fingers. It's nobody's fault. We win together. We lose together. We had the chance to finish the game. We didn't do it. So how is this team going to respond? How will this group respond? Will probably determine the quality of season we can have. I think we can continue getting better and better and have a good football team. This doesn't take any goals off the table for us. We lost week 3 last year to a really good team that ended up winning 11 games, and we responded well. How's this team going to respond? That's really was the message.
Colin was so good last year. You have 3 misses today. Just kind of, what have you seen or heard about kind of how some of those balls were kicked, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, the 51-yarder was slight. I mean, the wind had kind of died, but it was into the side that was harder to kick. He just missed it, hit hard. The last one, 57, I mean, he had the distance. He can make that. So, I mean, look, to be critical of a kicker for missing a 57-yarder is probably hard. It would have been awesome, obviously. The one in overtime's got to be made. I mean, that's got to be made, right? And so, but again, it's not on him. We can finish drives, we can get stops. So I haven't said anything to him yet, but we'll get back at it.
Jonathan McGill joining me, Billy Embody now. And look, first of all, welcome to the show. Obviously, you get a tough assignment, game 1, but hey, we're bringing you into the media world. You're spending some time with this football team as well, coaching them up and things like that this season. And for you to take the time to do this, we're really excited to have you. So thank you. Really appreciate it.
I'm happy to be able to do this. It's something I love to do.
And we would have loved to have your debut be a win. Dean's debut was at Nevada, so I mean, he came out on the winning side, but he was thrown into the fire. You're being thrown into the fire. This defense was put through it today by Sawyer Robertson, who I talked about it a little bit on the podcast going into the season. I feel like Baylor is going to win the Big 12, and large part for him. Yeah. And he was able to have time back there and throw the football around the yard. I mean, over 600 yards of offense today. A tough showing from the defense. But they were out there a ton of plays too. Those one play drives that Rhett mentioned, kind of, so that hurts you a little bit in time of possession for sure. When you're out there, seeing what you saw from field level, what were some of your takeaways for how Baylor was able to attack the defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a defense, there were some times that we were in drop, 8, and that only rushed 3. You only rushed 3 people, which means the quarterback is going to have more time, to sit back there and kind of examine the field. A lot of times we were kind of playing top down in terms of not giving up the explosive play, right? Like Trigg being out the tight end, right, in the second half, but the game plan, and it kind of looked like, we were playing top down a lot for the first half because you have a lot of explosive players. And so we were kind of playing a lot of zone coverages. And so I feel like during that, you got a chance to, break off the quarterback. And Sawyer Robertson, credit to him, credit to Baylor, credit to Coach Spav. Like, they had a good game plan and a great game plan, and they executed at a high level. I just think from a field view, there were some things that we could have done better in order to eliminate explosive plays. The last touchdown, we could have, erased that along with Cameron's touchdown to cut it to 7 and then to cut it from 7 to tie it up. Those 2 drives, I would say, were key and pivotal drives to where our defense should have got off the field. And if we play top down, the clock runs out. They don't have enough time to, tie it up or anything like that. So just looking situational football-wise to see how they grow.
The After Stangs Show is presented by our friends at StatusJet as well. Reach out to David Henry and his team at statusjet.com for a discount on a round-trip flight when you book and mention On the Pony Express. So SMU is taking their show on the road, so some of you might want to take advantage of that when going up to Springfield next weekend. Dean Ralsky will be there. Jonathan McGill will bring him in post-game if we can. And look, Rhett talked about it in post-game. Sometimes you need some things like that. You never want to lose a game, but you can learn so much from them. And we saw a team last week that did not come out crisp, clean. Offensively, Kevin started 10 for 10 for like 200 yards in the first half.
Mm.
The offense really put things together in that first half and was able to make some explosive plays in particular. They kind of bounced back defensively. I felt like there was that, that kind of that gaping hole of Alexander Kilgore being out, of course.
Mhm.
But, you just couldn't get any pressure. And when SMU was great last year,
Mhm.
you got home with 4.
Yeah.
And even when SMU was playing ahead today, there was just that almost uneasiness. I mean, there was a little bit of a breath.
Yeah.
It felt like when SMU went up 14, but
Mhm.
when you're in those situations, to walk us through that, like that's a difficult situation to stop momentum wise when Baylor got cooking with that quick score to close it to 7.
Yeah, I think kind of during that time, that's when your leadership shows. Whether that's guys that have played a lot of snaps and have been here at SMU. Isaiah Wachovia is a guy. Mom Moses is a guy. The last 3 years has played extremely well. Cam Roberson is a guy, and Isaiah Smith. Like I keep going back to those 4. Alexander Kilgore would have been another guy, but he was out this week. But I think to stop those type of offenses, that's when the leadership comes, right? Because at a certain point in a game, coaches can only do so much X's and O's, right? The players are the ones that are on the field controlling that. And so I think that, this is a young team, and these are guys that last season or the previous season didn't have this role to step into. And so I'm interested to see, okay, now they've seen it, they got a chance to learn it, to see, okay, we didn't come out with a win this week, but we have an opportunity to get better. And I think what Coach Lashley was saying in the post-game conference, the direction of this team, you will see whether that's next week or the week after, right? And so I think how you respond to adversity can tell you so much about the team and the character and the culture that you have. And I think SMU has a great culture, so I wouldn't freak out over one game.
And, this post-game show, of course, is brought to you by the Thomas Auto Group as well. Head up 75 McKinney. Check out any of their 4 locations up there: Ford, Subaru, Volkswagen, and Mitsubishi. Mention on the Pony Express at the Thomas Auto Group and get employee pricing on new and pre-owned vehicles. And look, this defense does have some things to obviously address in the next week. How do you take a game like this and make sure it doesn't affect you next game? You guys were in a tough home game, lost to BYU last year. Kind of, I wouldn't say as messy. It wasn't as messy. It was just a totally different game last year, obviously, but kind of a heartbreaking fashion because there were so many opportunities to close this game out.
Yeah. I think what you do is we have a mature team. And so I think what you do is you got to watch the film. It's not something that you don't watch. It's something that you watch and something you learn from in order to really see, okay, where can I get better at as a player? And as a coaching staff, obviously we'll do the same and evaluate areas that we could have called better as a player, places or my eyes or eye discipline, little things that have such an impact on the game. And so I feel like as a team, what you do is you watch it together. Don't point finger at yourself. Okay, this is where I messed up. This is where I need to be better. And then you go out there on Tuesday and you right, the wrongs from the previous game. You go out, you have a great week of practice on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, on Friday, and it leads to Saturday. And on Saturday, that's just the test to see if during the week, did you do what you thought you should have done? And are you prepared for the assignment? And so I think they'll be able to pass the test on Saturday. I'll be interested to see how they do that and the accountability that they have as players. I think will show it.
And the offense, meanwhile, was able to, for the most part, do a lot of good things for this game. I mean, you put up 45 points. Obviously, that's a really high number. Of course, over time, you get a touchdown right off the bat. Yeah. Romello Brinson, I do want to talk about him. I can tell Rhett's press conference was kind of winding down there. Yeah. So I didn't ask him about Romello, but Romello has really stepped up in a big way for this offense with Jordan Hudson being out. Jalen Cooper, back-to-back weeks for touchdowns. What do you see maybe from this offense, from your vantage point? What makes it dangerous? You see TJ Harden emerge. It wasn't perfect. There was a turnover in the end zone, Kevin Jennings throwing a jump ball, a couple of things that really kind of killed drives here and there. But at the end of the day, they put together a game that should have kind of been enough for this one.
Yeah, I think what we have seen offensively is that there is a lot of talent. And whether that is, Jordan Hudson is down, but Romello Brinson, Jalen Cooper, Carterius Brown, those 3 receivers, and I didn't even, mention our tight ends with Hibner, and RJ is still coming along, right? He's still, finding his footing. Coming from somebody that has been out for a long time and hurt, I had lost or missed 10 games, and coming back, it takes you a little bit to get your feet back wet. And I think we still haven't even seen the best of RJ. Running back wise, TJ Harden, Derek McFall are just like stable. We have a stable of running backs. And I think that what makes them so difficult is the quarterback as well, right? Kevin extends plays. He looks to throw more than he looks to run. And when defenses have bad eyes, Kevin makes them pay with, the long touchdown we've seen to Jalen Cooper, evading the pass rush, scrambling, deep defender loses his eyes, looks at the quarterback, and Jalen Cooper is down for, a 60-yard touchdown. And so I think that's what makes this offense so dangerous. The quarterback leading the charge and the talent we have offensively around him with a good offensive line as well.
Kevin finishes 74% completion percentage, a game that couple of mistakes, of course, but what's he like, as far as the maturation process, his gameplay from last year to this year that you've seen?
I've seen way more confidence from him and almost a command of the offense. I would say last season, he's all like, if you know Kevin and you've been around Kevin, he's a goofball, one of the funniest, most chill guys. But he kind of never gets too high or too low. And that's something that you need as a quarterback, composure. And Kevin has that. I would say this year, though, I see command. I see him, telling people the play, telling people to line up in certain areas, going to the receivers after a drive. Hey, that was on me. Or talking about, okay, where do you want this ball? You want it high, you want it low, you want it to the left, you want it to the back shoulder. So a command, right? I see that it's his offense. And that's something that I've loved seeing and, being on the other side of it, watching it from a player's perspective, because I think Kevin is obviously one of the most talented quarterbacks in the country, and to see him fully walk into that role is something that I'm excited to see. And I think Mustang fans should be excited to see as well.
And we'll bring in Dean Ralsky as well, third member of our team here. We'll all get nice and close and personal for this podcast here. The trio, we hope to be bringing this to you just about every home game for sure, and we'll see kind of how it works out on the road situations. But we are presented by our friends at Manny's as well. After a game like that, a heartbreaking loss, you want to go there and take advantage with the words queso queso. Get 10% off your food and wash it down with a couple margaritas for sure. And so do that at any of their 4 locations across DFW, whether it be right down the street from us at Mockingbird or the Plano location, Saxe or Rockwall area. So appreciate Manny's for sponsoring us and taking care of the post-game libations after that one. Dean, difficult one. You were there for the post-game press conference for SMU quarterback Kevin Jennings as well as Isaiah Wacobia. What was the mood in that press conference room following a game like that?
Yeah, absolutely. It sounded just like 2 guys who have been in this situation before, which they have been. And a lot of the players in the locker room have not been in a situation where you've got a lot of new faces, you lose an early game. Maybe they don't know how to respond. Well, those 2 guys at the podium do in Isaiah Wacobia and Kevin Jennings. So they've got a week to regroup. And for Kevin, it could be a big game for him next week. Of course, Missouri State, the only other team that offered him. So, they've got to take the emotion out of these next couple games, but it's going to be a tough task.
What did Zay have to say kind of after that game? Because, man, those, I'm sure, McGill, you know this, like those deep balls where they're underthrown
are the worst ones.
They're the worst because either you're dragging them down and pass interference, or the guys are going to be able to field it like a punt and, make a big play. 100%. And for Zay, he was in on that play, obviously tough one to defend, but what was his just kind of mood about the defense is showing?
He was asked, what was giving us the SMU defense so much trouble. And he really said there wasn't one thing. Of course, Baylor has talented players, but the defense was playing super hard. He just said they kind of got to go back to the drawing board a little bit, look back, see what went wrong. Maybe he doesn't know exactly what went wrong, but they've got, a week to figure some things out. And that secondary now is on the map, right? Baylor maybe exposed them a little bit, and so they're going to have a target on their back, and they've got to go prove that they can be difference makers for this team.
This is such a change from the defense last year. You had an Elijah Roberts, obviously you in the secondary, of course, but an Elijah Roberts up front, a Jared Harrison Hunt up front, Jafar Tank Booker, just very different players and skill sets. And Scott Simons, I've talked to him before this game, he said, I'm going to have to figure out what kind of works. How much of that do you guys see as far as the inner workings of, as a player, the inner workings of that discussion of, okay, we've got to do this, or we've got to change how we do this, or let's dial up more pressures, or, kind of make those changes.
Yeah, 100%. I think every team has its different personality. I would say even from my first year in 2023, the defensive plays that we had we ran a similar scheme, but kind of people are very more advantageous in certain coverages versus other coverages, right? And so it differs when you have Charles Wood and Chris Megginson. They're different than Brandon Crossley last season in smoke, right? So it's like you have to plug and play players. And one thing I do appreciate about Coach Simons is he knows how to do that. As a player, it is growing pains, right? So, you go through spring ball and you go against your offense, but you never really get tested like that. So you know what kind of team you like, the potential of your team, but you don't know actually what the team will be. And so I think once you play in the season, that's when you finally, okay, this is the guys that we have. This is what coverages they do better in. This is what coverages they don't. This is what they like. This is what they don't like. And it's an open dialogue between coach and player. And so I think that Scott Simons, Coach Hunley, Coach Crum, Coach Tibbs, they all do a great job of finding out what are the best situations to put our players in.
And SMU, this is a game that you've got to be incredibly disappointed about because you, quote unquote, had it. That's it. You're up 14 at home. Just made a defensive, turnover, win the turnover battle as well. 2-1 in this one, and penalties. You really, outside of a couple defensive, secondary penalties, and of course Romello making it back-to-back weeks. You really were able to play it kind of relatively clean. It just, Baylor was able to execute and move the football, and it's going to be really interesting to see how SMU, especially, we can look ahead now, but you can't, I guess. But TCU in 2 weeks, Josh Hoover is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and they're going to be watching this film after their strong showing against North Carolina. They're saying, okay, we're going to be able to maybe see some of those things that work for Baylor, and it's a huge game. Obviously, the last iron skillet. Of course, they go to Missouri State next weekend. Dean will be up there in Springfield getting the lay of the land for us, so we're looking forward to having him up there. But do want to shout out Kobe Wilson in the chat as well, saying he's in there. So appreciate him for tuning in for us. And look, we're going to do some more of this. We're going to take this show to, I think, a new level this year with the addition of McGill, of course, and kind of we'll finesse this in the right way to make it a lot of fun for you guys. We want to bring you guys Rhett Lashley as soon as possible, of course, after the game is over, win or lose. And for a first-time show, man, you did a great job. We appreciate you spending time with us, and all of you out there watching on Twitter or YouTube. Thank you guys. Hit that subscribe button for us if you would like, and check us out on theponyexpress.com. We'll have plenty more coverage of this game. What's next for SMU? How do they fix what's going on defensively and build on things offensively? We'll do all that more at ontheponyexpress.com. But we hope you guys enjoyed this live edition of the After Stangs Show, and we will catch you guys next week as SMU heads up to Missouri State and takes on Missouri State. What are they, Bears?
Yeah,
I think it's
Bears.
Back-to-back Bears. Okay.
Bears.
All right, we'll do that next week for you guys. And, of course, stay tuned to the site for more reaction from the entire team at ontheponyexpress.com. Catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening to the On the Pony Express podcast with Billy Embody. Follow us on your socials on X at SMU_on3 and on Instagram at On3SMU. And keep it locked to OnThePonyExpress.com for more coverage.